4 years ago, Landon Donovan, myself, and our group of investors started on a journey to bring professional soccer back to San Diego. I'm very proud of what we've accomplished in the first 3 seasons, from enduring a pandemic to making it to the playoffs, to then making it to the playoffs here for our first ever home game in Torero Stadium, and now in our 4th season, looking to make the playoffs once again. Over the last 6 months, myself, Ricardo Campos, and a small part of my team have been looking at all viable options up and down the coast for us to find solutions for academy, for training facilities, for stadiums. From Oceanside down to the border, we've looked at everything and left no stone unturned. Unfortunately, after looking at all of that, I've come to the conclusion that this will be the last season for San Diego Loyal. For those of you who've gotten to know me, spent some time talking with me, you know how much this hurts for me to say. I love our city, I'm born and raised here, and I will always be loyal to San Diego. I don't see myself taking this project anywhere else, and I refuse to put an inferior product in front of you after you've come to love what we've done for the last 4 years. Landon has always said to me, how you do anything is how you do everything. And that's why I thought it was important that you hear from me today. Not from a statement or a press release, but from me speaking to you. I understand it's in a video, and I hope you know that in the coming weeks, we will have the opportunity to all get together and have a question and answer and a discussion about all of this. And as always, I will continue to be transparent with you. We look forward to that happening, and we'll send details as that gets closer. I believe together in these last 4 years, we have set a new standard of what it means to be a professional soccer team in this city and be a reflection of our community. And I'm proud of that. And I want to take a second to thank everybody, from our dedicated supporters to our season ticket members, to our incredible group of players and coaches, to our staff, to our community partners, but once again, especially you, because without you, this club is nothing. So I have an ask. As we head into this last 2 months of the season, I ask that you continue to fight with the club. I ask that you come celebrate and not mourn what we have done over the last 4 years. I ask that you come join us at Torero for our final 4 home games and represent your community, come together as friends and family, and cheer us on as we push once again to make it to the playoffs, and who knows what happens after that. Like I said, this is really difficult. And from the bottom of my heart, I just want to thank everybody for the way you've represented the club and worn our crest. I'm forever grateful, and I will be forever loyal to our community. Thank you.
Footy Wars. If you haven't been paying attention to the fast growth of soccer in America, you have some catching up to do. But the good thing is, you are just now getting in tune at the right time. Now, this show tonight won't largely be about whether we should call it soccer or whether we should call it football. Most people call it football. You call it whatever you want to call it. But before getting into the soccer sector of this battle that's taking place in North America, because whether you want to believe it or not, it's a real battle that's going on in American soccer. A battle for fame, a battle for notoriety, a battle for survival, a battle for staying out of the red business-wise, battles for securing land so teams can have a place to play. There are so many aspects of fights that's taking place in American soccer on and off the field. But there's also another battle taking place in another football sector, and that's gridiron football. So NFL season will be starting next weekend as preseason is wrapping up this weekend. I'm going to talk a little bit about NFL. You know, the battle that NFL faces is not like MLS, where they're battling against a different league within this country. Gridiron football is part of the Footy war because they are battling to prove that gridiron football is a global sport. They already succeeded domestically. They already succeeded by surpassing Major League Baseball and NBA to become the number one league, as in NFL terms now. The NFL has already passed NBA and Major League Baseball to being number one in this country, which is something that wasn't easy to do. Because Major League Baseball was number one for many decades. NBA also had its run, but both of those leagues, they have declined not because of the NFL. Those two leagues have experienced their own form of implosion. Now, in the last episode, Saturday Night Special, episode 7, I explained why NBA declined and how they have killed themselves. Major League Baseball, their main issue has been lack of evolution, a reluctance to evolve and to adapt to a new generation of sports fans. That has what caused Major League Baseball to decline. And NFL, they basically took advantage of the self-destruction of Major League Baseball and the National Basketball Association to rise to the top. You see, one thing that American soccer can learn from NFL and college football in general, those two leagues, they do a good job of making it seem like anybody can make it to the NFL. Anybody from any community, anybody from any city, anybody from any class can have a chance to make it to the NFL. And that is the main reason why the NFL is the number one professional sports league in this country. Because of the belief and the opportunities that they give to every single American to have a chance to play in their league. Even if you're not good enough to make it to the NFL, they still provide opportunities for you to try to make it. Look at the amount of high school football teams and college football teams that's around, and the connection, the relationships that high school football have with college football, and the relationship that college football have with NFL. Even though those three sectors compete against one another, they still have a healthy working relationship with each other because they know that they need one another to survive. It's basically like real world economics. America knows they need to be in connection with some countries in Africa to survive, while you have some African countries know that they need to be in connection with China to survive. And then you have China, they know that they have to have connections with, Russia and Germany and Brazil just to survive. NFL models itself after that. They know that in order for them to survive, they have to have a clean football economy where they can work with SEC, Big Ten, and at the same time, SEC, Big Ten, working with high school football. But at the same time, NFL also working with, Boys and Girls Club of America and other high school football coaches just for survival. And that's one thing that MLS and USL should learn from the National Football League. Now, before I explain how NFL can survive in this footy war that's taking place in America, I want to talk about some things that I want to see change in the NFL. I want to see more regular season games, less preseason games. I believe that only one preseason game is needed. The reason why only one preseason game is needed is because it's like what a lot of current analysts, mainstream media analysts are saying. The scrimmages that take place in training camp, they are treated like live preseason matches. And with the amount of preseason scrimmages that you already have, that makes up for preseason matches. It's the reason why you had a team like the Atlanta Falcons most recently didn't play their starters in week 3 against the Steelers preseason. Because you have a guy like Arthur Smith just saying, we already see what our starters can do with the amount of scrimmages, the multiple amount of scrimmages that we had during training camp. I already seen enough from one of my starters. Why put them out there to risk injury before the real matches start? It makes a lot of sense. What if NFL takes away 2 preseason matches and replace them with 2 regular season matches? I'm sure this is something that NFL owners have been talking about for years or months, if not years for now. NFL season should start on Labor Day weekend. NFL season should not start after Labor Day weekend. NFL season should start either the last weekend in August or the first weekend in September. Because September, first weekend in September, like in August, early September, that's when most people are back from vacations and they're getting ready to send their kids to school. People getting ready to return to college. Everybody's back in their local areas. The last weekend in August or the first weekend in September is when NFL season should start. College football. A lot of people are complaining about the same teams being in the top 10 in the preseason polls every year. And I used to be one of those guys that complained about it. But I come to a realization. It's going to be like this. It's part of the business. The highest ticket revenue producing teams, the money generator schools, they're always going to be favored at the top. It's the business. It's about money. So, yeah, Texas might not have been good. Texas and Notre Dame, they might not have been good these past couple of years. But every year we're going to see them starting in the top 10, if not top 10, at least top 15. Because the college football business, they're important. And college football in general, they want to give the highest revenue generating teams the best opportunities to make the playoffs. Because it'll just help the collegiate economy grow. It'll help it grow. And that's all I have to say about that. Lastly, on college football, there's a team in particular that I'm curious. I want to know what happened to this team. This team used to be really good. And it's the Arkansas Razorbacks. I remember the days when the Arkansas Razorbacks, they looked like real, live, aggressive hogs. Like those wild hogs you see on YouTube and, the South American and African deserts or forests, those wild hogs, you see them running, trying to run away from the bears from getting eaten and all that. Arkansas used to be big, fast, and strong. They were real live hogs. And they used to be major competitors in the SEC. And I'm curious to know what happened. Is it lack of money? Is it maybe their NIL department is not as strong as Texas A&M? We all know that Cowboys owner Jerry Jones is an alumni of University of Arkansas, and he actually played for the football team. I think the last time Jerry Jones made headlines of when he donated to the Razorbacks, that was back in 2015. But this was before the NIL era. Maybe Arkansas should be making plans of making a little phone call to Jerry Jones. Let him know, hey Jerry, this is a new era now. We have a better chance to compete with Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State and Florida State more than ever before. You got transfer portal, you got NIL, and now you got playoff expansion. Those are 3 factors that benefits big money schools like the University of Arkansas. So you can use those 3 big factors to convince the Jerry Jones family to return back to his roots and help his alma mater take down Alabama, take down Georgia, take down Ohio State, take down Florida State. It is a football state, and they also have a lot of football history. The guy I remember the most, Darren McFadden. He was really the guy who modernized the Wildcat offense before Ronnie Brown made it popular with the Miami Dolphins. The first person I saw running the Wildcat, the first running back I saw running the Wildcat as a quarterback was Darren McFadden. And they also had that 3-headed monster group with Felix Jones and Peyton Hillis. But that's all I gotta say about that. Lastly, how gridiron football is part of this footy war, because it's not only soccer that's having a war within itself. Gridiron football, NFL in particular, NFL is trying to prove that they are a global league. But the problem with NFL is this current style, the collision aspect of the game, that's not really cheered upon in other countries. Other countries view that type of sport as barbaric, and anybody who plays that kind of game, they're foolish. People in other countries are aware of the brain injuries and how dangerous this type of sport is, and how people could potentially risk the second half of their life because of this sport. What will save gridiron football and cause it to elevate to the second level, NFL in particular, since they're the one that's pushing to be global, is flag football. Flag football is the sport that is going to turn NFL into a global league. And it's something that NFL should seriously start to take more serious. I know they're doing it during the Pro Bowl game, but the problem with that is the guys who are playing in it are NFL players, and they're trying to save themselves, prevent themselves from getting injured. So they're gonna treat it like just a pickup football game. They're not really going to take it serious and go out like the way flag football needs to be promoted. So in one of my monologues, I'm going to explain how NFL can use flag football to turn it into a global league. Because this current version of how NFL plays football, that's not going to help it become a global league. Flag football is the sport that's going to help it turn into a global league. Because it's also going to give women an opportunity to play the sport. And that's a group of people that you cannot forget. You have to include them if you truly want to be recognized as a global sport.
You know the vibes, baby. Yeah, real player shit. Let's go. Come take a ride with me. Let me put you on. I'm just trying to get you right. Yeah, yeah, yes sir. We here. I just wanna fill up my bags, bad bitch with a nice ass. Hold up, 2 double O on my dash. You know we be living life fast. Hold up, I just pray that I don't crash before I completed my task. Hold up, I just wanna feel in that what? I just wanna feel in that last. Got a little stash for the rain, I'm thankful. Make a little money, but don't let it make you. Try to put them on, but they be ungrateful. But when you gone, yeah, they gon' celebrate you. I ain't worried about no Insta model that'll sell a soul just to get a follow. Fuck it, hate is how I feel about them. Feels better when you make it from the bottom. I've been down on roads before. I done felt the lowest lows. Can't trust them in a Nina friend. Tryna hit me with the okie doke. Hard knock life, couldn't sleep at night. Used to wake up with the bed bug bites. Cleaned up nice, I done found my stride. Crown on straight and my head held high. I cannot go for it. They wanna go viral but never have nothing to show for it. I sold out a show in LA just the other day, so you already know it's lit. I ain't drive, I was chauffeured in. Cartier lens with the lowest 10. Real player shit, big Doberman. Old caddy with the chrome ornament. I'm with it, I'm bout it, let's get it. I'm on it, I'm feeling my pockets with 50s and hundreds, with 50s and hundreds, with 50s and hundreds. You talking, you chatting, you really don't want it. I'm with it, I'm bout it, let's get it. I'm on it, I'm feeling my pockets with 50s and hundreds, with 50s and hundreds, with 50s and hundreds. You talking, you chatting, you really don't want it. These niggas ain't fucking with me. I came up on Wheezy 500 degrees. That ain't no drip, you look funny to me. I feel like it just came from under the sea. Caught me a couple of V's that rumble like beasts. I peanut butter deceased. They shit on me when I was down. Now that I'm up, they want me to humbly speak. Don't ask for the price if you cheat. Don't do that. I've been on the road the last couple of weeks. She text me and said she in heat. I knew that. When I get home, girl, I'm diving in deep. She know that I'm playing for keeps. She know that she mine, but can't keep this dick on the leash. Can't keep in touch cause I've been out of reach from a fuck nigga hater, a foe in a leash. Niggas ain't like me. Look at my eyes and my high, bitch, I might be. Yeah, the life's enticing. I just want my cake, can't forget about the icing. Nah, you ain't gotta like me, you ain't gotta like me. But don't cross that line, think wisely. You can say what you want about me, but don't play with the fam, I don't take that lightly. I'm in the zone, look, I've been serving up the home cook. Tension thicker than a phone book. Yeah, I see I got them all shook. Look at baby, I done bossed up. I ain't really gotta talk much. I'ma pop out with the load, yeah. I'm just waiting till the coast clear. I'm with it, I'm bout it, let's get it. I'm on it, I'm feeling my pockets with 50s and hundreds, with 50s and hundreds, with 50s and hundreds. You talking, you chatting, you really don't want it. I'm with it, I'm bout it, let's get it. I'm on it, I'm feeling my pockets with 50s and hundreds, with 50s and hundreds, with 50s and hundreds. You talking, you chatting, you really don't want it. Don't want it, don't want it, don't want it.
It's a good thing that Major League Soccer Commissioner Don Garber is more vocal than ever. This is a time where no soccer or any soccer commissioner, no soccer commissioner should be quiet. This is the golden era of American soccer. This decade is going to kickstart the soccer economy for many, many decades. Not many, many years, but many, many decades. So it's very important for leagues that are not as popular as NFL, which is MLS and USL, to be as vocal as possible so people can get to know you for who you are. Now look at Commissioner Don Garber's statement, most recent statement about Leagues Cup. Some people are saying that some of the games should be played in Mexico. And I was one of those guys who shared the same thoughts. Because in my opinion, I thought that it just made more sense and it'll be more fair, and I would love to see MLS teams win in Mexico because, typically MLS teams struggle when they play in Mexico. But because Don Garber have came out with a statement, brought more clarity, it makes sense why the Leagues Cup is better suited to take place in the United States, in the United States only. Now, I'm not going to read the whole statement. I'm going to just break down certain points that stands out to me. Number one, I don't think it should compete with the Champions Cup. That's a good thing because the Champions Cup is the continental tournament. Leagues Cup is a merger between Liga MX and MLS for the benefits of those leagues. Liga MX, both leagues were heavily affected by the pandemic, but Liga MX a little more than MLS. So both of them is a revenue generator for both leagues. Number two, popularity. It encourages more fans who typically don't watch either MLS nor Liga MX during those leagues' regular season to actually watch it. Like, wow, two of the biggest leagues in North America going against each other. And another point of this statement that stands out the most to me, economically, is about business. Economically, America is a better economy than Mexico. There's a reason why you have a lot of Mexicans who are heavily against the border walls. That, they sacrifice their lives every day just to get past the border. Because America has better economic opportunities. And this is something that the Liga MX coaches that have complained about matches only being in the United States. They know this. They know economically, financially, that Liga MX will benefit better with the games playing in United States rather than Mexico. Here's another point that Don Garber didn't point out, but I'm going to point it out. Tourist safety. We all are aware of the recent reports of, Americans getting kidnapped in Mexico, Americans getting killed, robbed in Mexico. So liability wise and, lawsuit wise and legalities, MLS nor Liga MX, they don't want to be responsible for, let's say a Monterey fan traveling to Houston or traveling from Houston to watch Monterey play against Houston Dynamo somewhere in Mexico City, and that Houston resident get kidnapped in somewhere by one of the Mexican gangs, and they're demanding for a large sum of money. Guess who's going to be expected to pay that money and to save that American who was kidnapped by a Mexican gang in Mexico City? MLS and Liga MX, people are going to hold them responsible for such, since they're hosting a tournament and since that Houston resident was traveling in Mexico to see a Leagues Cup match. So that stuff is also, it plays a role, plays a factor. So the same for Champions Cup, but that's a little different. But look, that's the things that they're thinking. That too, but I'm not gonna get too much into that. Here's one thing. Lastly, I'll say about Leagues Cup. The last two things. These are Liga MX coaches complaining, not Liga MX ownership groups. If Liga MX ownership groups are not complaining, there's no issue. If the people in power, if the Mexicans in power are not complaining, that means they don't have an issue, which means there is no issue. What could improve Mexican travel in America during Leagues Cup if matches are regionalized, where every MLS city is not hosting a Leagues Cup match. Like you have your West region and you choose one city for all the Western teams to play. And you have your Central region, you choose one central city in the United States like Chicago, Kansas City, or Denver for all the central teams to play. Then you have your East region. You choose one city in the East, where it's Philly, Atlanta, Tampa, or New York City for those teams to play. Maybe that will help. But I'm going to talk more about Leagues Cup expansion and how it could satisfy more people, more Mexican coaches in general on a later date.
Yo, Jet Files, full. Nesbitt Phelps on the beat. Nesbitt Phelps. Whitey, y'all know how we do on the boards. Jets, trees rolled up. Yeah, lemonade, champagne, bitch. I'm a diamond in a bad bitch in the past. She twisting up her set. I know this ain't the 70s. I'm feeling like the Mac Goldie. You can't hold me from collecting these stacks. Diamond in a. While I was off, you niggas in the fat. It's my time, so I need to hold on that. It's my turn, yeah, right back like I left my cell phone in the sofa cushion. Pay attention to them, show you how a pro would do it. To the edge, I push it, clean over the ledge. Long way from down there, so don't look if you're scared. On the quest for the bread, like I'm trying to build a sandwich. Tall enough to put me next to the moon. If I was to stand on it, that's all. You niggas sugar it, get caught in the rain to dissolve. Reinforced frame, not spitter too strong. Sucker niggas ain't built to last that long. They out of ammunition making whack ass songs. Rap ain't wrong, it's just fucked up. Not like that forever though, because you got us. Good weed, bad bitches among us. Try not to let this bullshit become us. We the Jets, my nigga, only God is above us. Cruising in my leg with the diamond in the bag. Bad bitch in the passenger seat, she twisting up a sack. I know this ain't the 70s, I'm feeling like the Mac Goldie. You can't hold me from collecting these stacks. Full steam ahead, no time for looking back. While I was off, you niggas was getting fat. It's my time, boss, I need pause to all that. If I ain't on my grind, yeah, what do you call that? Heavens to Betsy, somebody catch me, I'm falling. Hopefully I land on both Jordans. Get right back to the sky with another bone rip, another broken celly. Maybe I should buy a phone clip, stop it. I would never rock it like my wireless, my money and my rubbers all in my pockets. You already know what's in them Louis pouches. It's prescribed, so I ride with at least a couple ounces. Ever seen lions pouncing on they prey? Real shit. That's how I approach the beat today. These niggas is slipping, butterfingers going to the bar. Don't leave your broad, you better bring her with you, boy, or you be filing a missing person report for. Picture on a mail carton at the Kroger's, Winn-Dixie, or whoever your local grocery freezer. If I didn't think I would lose my account, I would've used streams. Losing in my leg with the diamond in the bag. Bad bitch in the passenger seat, she twisting up a sack. I know this ain't the 70s, I'm feeling like the Mac Goldie. You can't hold me from collecting these stacks. Full steam ahead, no time for looking back. While I was off, you niggas was getting fat. It's my time, boss, I need pause to all that. If I ain't on my grind, then what do you call that? Call that, fool? What you call that then, fool? If I ain't on my grind. Jets, nigga. Nesbitt Phelps on the boards.
Sitting still with this segment, it's called life. I'm in it for the thrill like depression and cold nights. It's something you could feel like the homeless and cold nights. Now checks look at me like cleaning some old nights. They thinking it's all bright, still I'm hella lonely. Attracting only the phonies, cause music they wanna phone me. I don't know if they like me or who the media is showing. Either or, I'm sure that it won't stop me from my growing. I've been glowing like a star, now that daytime's passing. They'll truly see the shine, and I see their reaction. Touching souls like traction. If it's whack, then we doing subtraction. Can't happen if the map ain't adding. My energies of heaven, you resembling Saturn. I can see the rituals, they continue in patterns, but they got no idea what bitch she done mastered. They thought I had my back to the wall like I'm plastered, huh? You ain't got no idea. If you thinking that this boy bout to cower in fear, nah. You ain't got no idea, cause I done been through a lot in these 15 years, and you ain't got no idea. Said I done been through a lot, still I ain't show tears, and you ain't got no idea. Say you don't know how I see it, you don't know how I see it, nah. What am I seeing? What aren't I? It's constantly a war inside me, myself, and my pride. They all stressing, but thoughts not resting, cause I can't let it all fall apart like in sections. There's aggression, depression, hella second guessing. I'm feeling like I'm mind blown, thoughts are at a dead end. Pop says correction, mom says a reverend. She know I won't listen, but still she throw the suggestion. I play mental tech, and so all of this is a blessing. I was lost on the road and finally found a direction. Fuck what anybody think, I'm loving the progression. Still they say I'm immature like I'm a boy freshman. They got no idea that I was really destined. They got no idea that I was really destined. I continued on my path, had my mind as my weapon. I walked through hell, now I'm inventing the heaven, cause you ain't got no idea. If you thinking that this boy bout to cower in fear, nah. You ain't got no idea, cause I done been through a lot in these 15 years, and you ain't got no idea. Said I done been through a lot, still I ain't show tears, and you ain't got no idea. Say you don't know how I see it, you don't know how I see it, nah.
I tell them, I felt like I lived my life out this duffel bag. And I won't stop until I hit millions in cash. Yeah, I felt like I lived my life out this duffel bag. And I won't stop until I hit millions in cash. I felt like I lived my life out this duffel bag. And I won't stop until I hit millions in cash. I felt like I lived my life out this duffel bag. Yeah, can't be a hot boy when you make those moves up off that burner. Hanging on for my niggas felt like Nat Turner. Always had heart, abnormal murmur. Cold shoulders made the fire in that heart warmer. A burning sensation for better accommodation. Like my money had shots, I need to see it caking. That's why I kept it short and sweet, sell perks up through the streets. No bank accounts, like that money under my mama's sheets. Can't let my bloodline become these blood suckers. Keeping high hopes no matter what pressure I'm under. Always on the go, I'm guessing I'm a distant lover. Eager to ball so hard you can't ignore the thunder. I tell 'em, I felt like I lived my life out this duffel bag. And I won't stop until I hit millions in cash. Yeah, I felt like I lived my life out this duffel bag. And I won't stop until I hit millions in cash. I felt like I lived my life out this duffel bag. And I won't stop until I hit millions in cash. I felt like I lived my life out this duffel bag. Since a baby, a nigga been crib hopping. I'm just tryna stack this money just to get the crib poppin'. Pops went missing like I own
only seen them on milk carton. So it's perks and weed, hide it in my favorite Jordan. So it's walk with me if you tryna place an order. Cause these cops is fleas, they be really tryna dog a nigga. Like why you tryna frame me, boy, I'm tryna paint a picture. Try to force a nigga hand and make me pull his trigger. But back on Lennox 7 Church, I sold my first perk. Back when quarter water used to quench a nigga thirst. Me and Rail in the field, that's a task force. Like we need more than a meal on our dashboard. I tell them, I felt like I lived my life out this duffel bag. And I won't stop until I hit millions in cash. Yeah, I felt like I lived my life out this duffel bag. And I won't stop until I hit millions in cash. I felt like I lived my life out this duffel bag. And I won't stop until I hit millions in cash. I felt like I lived my life out this duffel bag.
So another USL club falls to MLS expansion. And the reason behind this, we can't ignore it. We all know it. MLS monopoly. Based on Major League Soccer's actions, they are pursuing all the top major markets. And they're leaving the rest for USL and other clubs to have. Major League Soccer is making it known that they desire to be the premier soccer league in the United States. And to be honest, MLS doesn't want competition within the United States, that is. When it comes to North America, they'll take competition from Liga MX. When it comes to Canada, Canadian Premier League, maybe. I'm not too sure. There's already 3 MLS teams in Canada: Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver. Those clubs historically have done well. You know, the reason why I say historically, because Toronto, they're struggling right now. They're having a downward moment. But I believe Toronto will eventually get it right. Toronto will get it together. The Italian duo, that will probably go down as the worst MLS transfer experiment in league history. I mean, it just didn't work. And we may owe Bob Bradley an apology. All of us who thought that he was the major problem. Us that thought that he was the only problem. And by him getting fired, the team will immediately play better. But I'll talk about that in another monologue. I'm not sure if MLS is going to monopolize Canada like the way they're doing in the United States. So I'm just mainly focused on the United States. How has MLS been able to get away with such? In a land where there's so much laws. I mean, when it comes to laws and rules and regulations, United States is up there. It's just so many laws. And it's like, how MLS has been able to do what they've been doing. One reason is not a major popular league in America. A lot of people are focused on NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, college football, college basketball, high school football, high school basketball. It's very easy for MLS to do a lot of things behind closed doors without us even knowing. San Diego Loyal is the latest USL victim of MLS monopoly. Now, some of us already knew this day was coming because there is no way MLS and USL can survive in the same city. I repeat, MLS and USL cannot coexist in the same city. When I first started my YouTube channel, I alluded to the two unifying and merging together. Why is Major League Soccer and the United Soccer League divided? Football, which is called soccer in the United States, is not a popular sport in America when compared to rugby-style football, which is basically football and rugby combined together that is called football in America. As a result of such, it will benefit both clubs to merge and grow the popularity of the sport together. A unification of both clubs will also help Americans become more familiar with the game of soccer. A merger between both clubs can solve some of the individual issues that the leagues are facing. For example, Major League Soccer is still working towards expansion. The cities of Vegas and Phoenix are high on the list. However, the USL already has teams in both of those cities. So instead of spending money on a new team and going through a spat with local politicians and activists over a new stadium, Las Vegas FC can immediately transform into an MLS team with money being spent on expanding and remodeling Cashman Field. Phoenix FC, on the other hand, can become a Division II powerhouse as they benefit from the financial resources. You see, with this merger, the MLS will be the Division I, the Major League, and USL, Division II, the Developmental Minor League. San Diego is another city that's craving for a professional football team since the departure of the NFL's Chargers. There's no point on the MLS having an expansion team in San Diego if you already have two major teams in Los Angeles. Either one of them move to San Diego or just turn San Diego into a premier Division II club with the merger. A lot of money can be saved and gained from an MLS-USL merger. The USL can literally become a developmental league for players straight out of high school with the goal of playing in the top American division, which will be MLS. The MLS-USL relationship could be a tight bond similar to that of the NFL and college football. Even though college football is not labeled as the official development league of the NFL, its actions speak otherwise. College football players are scouted and recruited by NFL officials. Every spring, there's a developmental showcase called the NFL Combine, where college players are basically auditioning for a job in the NFL. The MLS-USL relationship can be similar to that. Both leagues will benefit from this merger and popularity within both sports will grow. It doesn't benefit any of the two by being divided. In Western America, USL clubs are not located in average small towns. They're in towns with a heavy Hispanic population that loves soccer. This means the teams will be supported as long as they commit to winning. This is an important model that MLS can follow. Developing clubs in soccer-friendly neighborhoods, not neighborhoods that could care less about the game. With a merger, the MLS can now focus on tapping into cities that only have few major professional teams that crave soccer, such as New Orleans, Louisiana, Tallahassee, Florida, and Birmingham, Alabama. The Gulf Coast is a region that hasn't been aggressively tapped into by many top American leagues, such as the NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL. The NBA has tried to do so with the Pelicans, but the honest truth is that the city don't want them there. This is why superstars like Chris Paul, Anthony Davis, and soon-to-be Zion Williamson have left. New Orleans is not an NBA, MLB, nor NHL city. It's just an NFL college football town. The fact that majority of soccer season takes place in the winter, spring, and summer, MLS won't have to worry about hurricane time until late in the season. Also, due to their disdain for the NBA, this city doesn't have anything to legitimately cheer for after football season. The Gulf Coast is a region that the MLS can dominate in the winter, spring, and summer. At one point in the Southeast, Atlanta was solely viewed as the major commerce city in that region. Time has now changed as cities in Charlotte and Nashville have caught up and become real competitors to ATL. Birmingham, Alabama is another Southeast city that's on the come up. Soccer needs more major professional teams in the Southeast. There are already major professional teams in Atlanta, Nashville, Orlando, and Charlotte. The MLS-USL merger could elevate the USL's Birmingham Legion to Major League status, similar to Las Vegas, and the Division II state of the team could be relocated to either Tallahassee or Pensacola, Florida, Mobile, Alabama, or Gulfport, Mississippi. With the 2026 World Cup approaching, Americans need all hands on deck. There shouldn't be any signs or form of division. Major League Soccer and the United Soccer League has more in common than unusual. It will be very hard for both leagues to compete against other professional sports leagues divided. A merger similar to that of the NFL-AFL merger of 1970 will benefit both leagues. I was wrong. When I made that video, my knowledge about the two leagues was really low. And this was at a time where we barely got information. The way MLS and USL is more transparent today, they weren't transparent like this last year. And it's just so amazing how this sport in general has grown so fast within months to a point where more leagues are being more vocal. You see, if these two leagues were more vocal and open and honest as they were today, I would have never made that video and made those statements. And it seems like ever since I produced that content, the two leagues have been separating further apart. San Diego Loyal now will join at the end of this year. At the end of this year, they'll join Austin Bold, St. Louis FC, and Queensboro FC as leagues that had to stop operation due to MLS expansion. Now, Austin Bold and Queensboro, they have not officially stated that they're done. But actions speak louder than words. And Queensboro FC was the team that wanted to get the Willets Point location across from the Mets baseball stadium before NYCFC found out, and they said, oh, hell no. Because remember now, there was a location near the Harlem River in the Bronx that NYCFC, it was reported that NYCFC was considering that. But then all of a sudden, they said, no, we're going to Willets Point. Willets Point is for us. And at that point in time, I'm like, but wait a minute, why did they change their mind so fast? That place in the Harlem River with the local community leaders in the Bronx, it looked like they had something going on, a good plan going on. Why all of a sudden they backtracked and just switched to Willets Point in Queens? Today, it all makes sense now. Queensboro was the team that forced them to change their hand. And maybe that particular location in Queens was better than the other location in the Harlem River. I don't know. But one thing I know is this. MLS and USL cannot coexist in the same city. And as a result of that, NYCFC had to say, no, you're not taking that land. we're taking that land. Because it's MLS indirectly telling USL that whatever city that we plant our flag in, you have to pack up your bags and leave if you're currently dwelling there. And if you're not currently dwelling there, don't you dare enter our territory. That's what MLS is telling USL. Austin Bold, St. Louis FC, Queensboro FC, and now San Diego Loyal. The one main thing they all have in common is that they can't find a stadium. The reason why they can't find a stadium is because MLS, they don't only take a location, they don't only take land for a soccer stadium. They take the best land that's available. And once they secure the best land, then they work with local political leaders to make sure that no other professional soccer team is able to do business within that area. And that's just the reality. So now we're looking at USL. What should USL do? As of right now, unfortunately, USL is in the reaction phase. I mean, not phase 3. They have to be reactionary, pretty much, because of what MLS is doing. Or do they have to be reactionary? What's wrong with USL saying, okay, MLS, you want the top markets? You can have it. We'll go to the unpopular markets and we'll build relationships with those communities and we'll grow like that. That is one way, and probably the best way, that USL can survive beyond the 2020s.
Even day, I woke up this morning on some different shit. Different day, different moves to make, different pay, no room for mistakes. Different bay, different jewelry, it's okay, this ain't new to me. Different day, different moves to make, different pay, no room for mistakes. Different bay, different jewelry, it's okay, this ain't new to me. 10,000 on that chain, it cost me nothing. Joey gift the rollie just for hustling. For girls for one night, they end up stalking. I don't need to smile to show I'm flossing. Life a movie paid in full and ain't no bargains. 3,000 for the kicks, you know I scarfed them. Pockets on Chris Griffin got me cautious. Laughing at you haters, see my tonsils. Different day, different moves to make, different pay, no room for mistakes. Different bay, different jewelry, it's okay, this ain't new to me. Different day, different moves to make, different pay, no room for mistakes. Different bay, different jewelry, it's okay, this ain't new to me. You shopping in the store, this right here cost 'em. Global entry, I'm sourcing through custom. One of one, I'm a narcissist. Always getting active in the function. Boy, stop acting in the function. Talking all that shit, but you do nothing. Got a tolerance for hate, that shit is toxic. Dollar signs the only way you catch me talking. Different day, different moves to make, different pay, no room for mistakes. Different bay, different jewelry, it's okay, this ain't new.
in closing, I haven't talked much about the footy war that's taking place in college football. And if you're someone who typically follows American sports, you're currently aware with what's going on in college football. For those of you who don't know, the footy war in college football, it evolves around a lot of things. NIL, where you got the rich schools gathering more donors and more support from sponsors to get even more money to provide more benefits for the top players, the top high schoolers. While you have the small money schools, they're trying to see how they can adjust, how they can fit in. Transfer portal. You got the richest schools recruiting good players from smaller schools, not after the season, but during the season. You see, the same way European clubs recruit MLS players, regardless of it being in the middle of MLS season, the beginning or the end of MLS season, they just don't care. They just start sending text message to MLS players as they please. That's what the big schools in college football is doing. And you got the small schools. They're trying to figure things out. They're trying to see where they can fit in. Conference realignment. You have the big schools trying to figure out what conference best fits their purposes and their bottom line, and what conference will help them be able to generate more revenue for their athletic department. So they're colluding with one another, seeing how they can work with each other. Then you got the smaller schools. They're trying to see where they can fit in so they won't get left out. So the theme for college footy wars is getting in where you fit in. But for the smaller schools, they can't force their way in. They have to get an invitation from the bigger schools. They have to be allowed in. And the ones who are not allowed in, they're going to be stuck with the NCAA. You see, in college football, you have 3 big conferences to choose from. You have SEC, Big 10, Big 12. If your school or a school is not able to be a member of one of those conferences for the foreseeable future, like within the next 10 years, a lot of schools are going to struggle to maintain athletics because the cost of doing business in college football continues to increase. And college football, historically, the powers that be, they have historically favored the richer schools over the smaller schools. The schools that produces large viewership, helps TV media companies make more money, help local businesses make more money. Those have been the ones that have always been favored. So in closing, when it comes to footy war in the soccer sector, you see, college football, you have to get in where you fit in if you're allowed in. See, that's the trick. Like, you can't only get in where you fit in, you also have to be allowed in. So that's the two things that colleges are dealing with. When it comes to soccer, it's much tougher. Because even though you have college football programs that are not able to be part of the big three conferences, there's still other conferences available for them to settle that will prevent them from going out of business. But that's not the case in soccer. A lot of clubs, it's about survival of the fittest. And if you're not able to be part of Major League Soccer, it is not guaranteed that your club is going to be around past the 2020s. And that is not an opinion. That is a fact. Because you see, MLS is building a soccer empire to the point where they desire to be the only league, the only professional soccer league that exists in the United States. So you got USL owners. They are having talks with MLS behind closed doors, seeing how they can be a part of MLS Next Pro. This is what San Diego Loyal did this past winter. And there's some other clubs who I won't name, but one in particular who I believe is doing it if they haven't done it already. And if they haven't done it already, they're strongly thinking about doing it. It's OKC Energy. You see, it's not crazy to think that OKC Energy will become an MLS Next Pro club and eventually transition to a major MLS club. OKC is an NBA city. And they have proven that they can host a major professional sports league. But I'm not going to get too much into that. I'm just using them as an example. For college football, get in where you fit in if you're allowed. Soccer, survival of the fittest. NFL is just basically a war within itself on how it can maintain being the top league, the top sports league in America. How they can avoid implosions that their competitors, NBA and MLB, have experienced. And now those two leagues, they're rebuilding their brand. NFL wants to avoid that. So NFL is its own enemy. It could be its own worst enemy in this footy war. And what could cause NFL to fall? It's greed and lack of evolution. The current state of the game, how the game is played, is that economically feasible within the next 50 years? The collision style of the game. How can you avoid multiple lawsuits within these coming years? That's one thing NFL has to think about when it comes to evolving the game. Embracing more flag football. Taking flag football a little more serious.
Yeah. My girl Jets. Why I smoke so much. Fly you. Fool. Shit done changed. Right. And I'ma be the same. Yo. Never switching lanes. That's why I stay up in the sky. Just nigga, now we're heaven we
Yeah, that's why I stay up in the sky.
Yes, nigga, now where heaven we supposed to look.
That's why I stay up in the sky.
Yeah, I fell asleep on the plane. Woke up, the cameras flashing and people screaming my name. They seem to think their agendas are hidden, but they isn't. I've been on to them swindlers for a minute. Bad girls at the bar, they being tough and drinking Guinness. Though I'ma play it straight and sip a couple Shirley Temples, loking with a sober mental. At least until I get to my car. I got a joint to spark is waiting in my glove compartment. Got a point to prove. Personal shit, I admit I'm caught in. In the end, we'll compare moves and then see who's the smartest. Somewhere between the rich and famous and the starving artists. I embody that, so I spit, which will relate to all them. Yeah, fool.
Shit done changed, and I'ma be the same. Never switching lanes. That's why I stay up in the sky.
Yes, nigga, now where heaven we.
Yeah, that's why I stay up in the sky.
Yes, nigga, now where heaven we.
That's why I stay up in the sky.
Yeah, do it the jet way, put it in the air like I just called the pass play. Them niggas wasn't there, they just talking hearsay. Them suckers only in the hood on video days. When there's police barricades and videotapes, ain't being real, they just being real fake. I got real estate, a couple pending closing dates, I'm straight. I know them haters was like, homie, gon' fall off, just wait. Now they can't walk in their bitch crib without seeing my face. Chalk it up to working hard and constantly talking to God. Produce your jet membership or you cannot come aboard. We flying over you squares, fucking checkerboards. Yeah.
Shit done changed, and I'ma be the same. Never switching lanes. That's why I stay up in the sky.
Yes, nigga, now where heaven we.
Yeah,
to the.
that's why I stay up in the sky.
Yes, nigga, now where heaven we. To the.
That's why I stay up in the sky.
She asked me why I smoke so much. Shawty asked me why I smoke so much. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I stay up in the sky.
Shawty asked me why I smoke so much.
Yeah.
I know why I smoke so much.
That's why I stay up in the sky.
Shit.
That's why I stay up in the sky.